Dave Dick, a strange sound. A strange sound, Dave Dick.
It was mid-June. The air was warm and filled with the scent of wild roses. A perfect evening to get out and do a little fly fishing. Filled with high expectations, I made my way to one of my favorite spots, a nice quiet pool that sits right in front of some rapids, sheltered on one side by a very steep hill and a stand of cottonwoods on the other. After about 30 minutes and a few nice trout to brag about, I started to hear a strange sound coming from on top of that ridge. It was a type of cry that I'd never heard before, and one that I know I'll never forget. I stopped what I was doing to listen as the crying grew louder and louder. All of a sudden, a mule deer with her little fawn went racing by just as fast as they could go. And even before they were out of sight, a second fawn appeared at the top of the hill. But unlike the other two, it turned abruptly toward the steep hill. And as it tried to make its way down that incline, it lost its footing, only to tumble to the bottom and smack into an old fallen tree. As this little fawn is getting back on its feet, a coyote appears at the top of that ridge. It looked both ways and decided to come down that hill for the one right in front of me. And now as that a coyote is making its way down the slope, the little deer jumps into the water and starts to swim towards me. The hunter is now at the water's edge, standing firm with his eyes focused on his prey. I look back at that little fawn as it's getting closer, its eyes wide open and filled with a desperate fear, and yet focused on me as I stood there. And just as I reached out to grab that fawn, the coyote leaps into the water. This predator was going to have its prey no matter what. And there I am, standing in waist-deep water with a fawn tucked under one arm and a desperate dog on his way out to get it. I looked down at the little fawn for a bit and realized it's only 2 to 3 days old. It had put its trust in me, and there was no way I was going to let it fall to prey or become breakfast for that scruffy beast. Armed with my fly rod, I decided to whip my adversary for all it was worth, but to no avail. It was like hitting it with a wet noodle. And at the last minute, I turned that rod over and thought I could use the blunt end as a push stick. And after a few failed attempts, I did manage to jab it into his ribs and push it into the rapids. Realizing it can't swim against that stronger current, it made its way back to the bank, looked back at me briefly, and took off in the direction of the other deer. Except for the sound of the river, my whole world had become calm and quiet again. I remained still for a few moments to gather my thoughts, slow my heart rate, and eventually I started to make my way to the far bank with the little deer in tow. And as soon as that little deer managed to get some footing, its fear of me kicked in and started to fight and struggle. I released the little one and watched as it ran off with a limp. Just like the coyote, it was gone as fast as it had appeared. I sat down in the muddy bank, tried to make sense out of what just happened. And all I can come up with is perhaps Mother Nature had designed a role for me to play in one of her life and death scenarios. I spent the rest of that evening left wondering what would become of that little deer. Fellow Toastmasters, we face unexpected events all the time, And this year's no different. 2020 reminds me of that evening on the river. We all had expectations of hope, prosperity, good health. But within a very short time, our global community started to hear a strange sound. It was a type of cry that most of us have never heard before and will probably never forget. Like the fawn, we're now faced with our own predator, not a four-legged animal that we can get up and run away from, but an unforgiving, invisible menace that shows no mercy on individuals or nationalities. We all have our own rivers to swim. We don't know what curveballs Mother Nature's going to throw at us next, but we can be prepared for and embrace the unexpected. We may stumble and crash into a few old trees along the way. We may even come out of this with a limp, but we will come out of it. It's times like these that we all could use a little encouragement. I find mine within a little deer, only 2 to 3 days old, yet instinctive enough to fight and resilient enough to keep going and overcome. I'm filled with a sense of renewed hope when I think back to that evening on the river and the events that took place, as well as the following morning when I was rewarded with the sight of that doe and both her fawns together again. Madam Toastmaster.
Kanak Kare, my final prescription. My final prescription, Kanak Kare.
Breathe, breathe. Every breath reminds you you're still alive. But what do you do when sometimes life knocks the wind out of you, leaving you breathless? Contest chair friends, come with me to 1964, the year I married a handsome young doctor, Umesh. He took my breath away. We moved from India to Canada. We raised 3 lovely daughters. We even made time to pursue our passions. Umesh loved traveling, trying new foods, and writing prescriptions for his patients. I loved singing, dancing, and my new passion, swimming. Umesh said, Kanak, you've been wearing sari your whole life. It only shows your handsome face. Would you feel comfortable in a swimsuit, showing off your body? Yeah, baby. To make me happy, Umesh tried to learn swimming. My poor fellow, he couldn't learn to breathe in the water. So I said, honey, I'll help you practice breathing in the bathtub. Picture this, Umesh in the tub, I sitting beside, giving my first motivational speech. Breathe, honey, breathe, have fun. He gave me the look. Well, honey, you just stick with what you are good at, writing prescriptions. He was good at one more thing. Every weekend, he took us to the lake. So one sunny summer morning, our daughters were getting ready to go to the lake for some family fun time with the sound of laughter, the aroma of kebabs. Suddenly, I felt a pain shoot across my chest. Umesh, I can't breathe. We never made it to the lake that day. Instead, we went to the hospital emergency. After some tests, the doctor said, "I'm sorry, Kanak. You have a rare lung disease. There's no cure for it." I felt like the air left the room. In a flash, my life went from the paradise of delight to the pit of despair. Umesh held my hand and said, "Kanak, don't worry. I'll make sure you're around for a long time to cook me tasty kebabs and travel to see Mount Everest. But let's make a deal. No more swimming lessons." Then he sang his favorite song. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy." That's when I made a choice to make every moment count, a choice to be happy, a choice to just breathe. Umesh took time off work to love and care for me. If I felt sad or sick, he would write a prescription reminding me my own words. "Breathe, honey, breathe. Have fun." The following weeks were some of the best days we spent together as a family. Lots of laughs, tasty dinners, and a trip to Mount Everest. I started singing and dancing again, Bollywood style. At my next checkup, the doctor said, "Your lungs are completely healed. How did you do it?" "Well, doctor, I think love, laughter, and lots of kebabs healed my lungs. You see, the only person in charge of your happiness is you." In 2015, after 51 years together, I lost my husband. That truly knocked the wind out of me. On the day of the funeral, I felt Umesh was standing next to my kebabs, listening and smiling, while my daughter sang, "You make me happy when skies are gray." I could hear sadness knocking at my door. I made a choice not to open that door. Instead, I chose to be happy. At the same time, I remember the last words of Umesh. "Kanak, choose to be happy. This is my final prescription." Friends, sometimes life knocks the wind out of you, my final prescription is this: breathe. Madam Toastmaster.
Travis Tebow, The Power of Friendship. The Power of Friendship. Travis Tebow.
Amelia Bedelia. That was her nickname, and she was my friend. When we first met, she said, "My name is Amelia," with an E. So I said, "With an A?" "No, an E," she scoffed, and I knew from that point on we were going to hit it off. Amelia grew up in Poland during World War II. She was the survivor of a stroke, restricted to a wheelchair. She had silvery blue hair, big round glasses, big cheeks, big smile, and a huge heart. She was my friend. My other friend Linda, an instructor of a stroke class, must have thought that this would be a match made in heaven, pairing us up. And I have to tell you, we had a lot of fun working together in class. We also had a unique way of teasing and torturing each other in fun. One day in class, I was chirping like a bird. Amelia is looking all around for the bird. Then she looks my way. I stop chirping. She looks away. I do this a few more times, eventually getting caught, and she whacked me with her good arm. Man, she could sure whip that ball around in class, one day knocking my glasses onto the floor. She looked at me, smiled, and giggled with glee. Another time in class, I just couldn't quit yawning. Amelia says, "Travis, what's the matter with you?" I said, "I'm just tired, Amelia." "Ah," she said, nodding her head, winking. "You up late last night, eh?" She was torturing me. Linda had the group doing a stirring exercise in class and asked, "What are we stirring today?" So Amelia said, "Soup." So I asked her, "What kind of soup, Amelia?" "Borscht," she said. "Oh, you must mean borscht." "No, borscht. It's borscht, 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 borscht. Ay, 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 back and forth till finally she got the last word in. Then about a minute later, I leaned over and said, "Borscht," and it was on again. After class, I'd help her with her coat and her scarf, and I told her, "Amelia, you look like Amelia Earhart." "Yeah," she said, in a most dignified way, and off to the elevator we went. One time the handy bus driver didn't strap her in properly. She phoned me that night. "And Travis, I went flying onto the floor, and it took 5 men to pick me back up. Ha, 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 ha," she laughed. "And not one broken bone. Ha, 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 ha." She laughed again. I was mortified. Thank God she was all right. She had a wonderful sense of humor and invited me to go window shopping with her to North Hill Mall. We had a lovely visit in the food court. She bought 2 new scarves. Then it was off to her favorite shoe store. She knew the owner for years. He was delighted to see her. "Amelia, how are you?" he said. She beamed with joy and then sent him into the back to look for some shoes and quietly whispered to me, "Okay, let's go." So, like Usain Bolt, the Jamaican sprinter, we bolted out of there, chuckling like a couple little kids about the look on the owner's face when he come out, and we were gone. It was classic fun. She then said I need to go to Sears. I'm like, right on, I like Sears. I need to go to ladies' wear. Really? I need to buy a bra. Well, my comfort level was way down here, and she knew she was torturing me. But off into ladies' wear we went, into lingerie, where she immediately found a bra she liked. An employee appeared and asked, "Would you like to try that on?" "Who, me?" I said. "Oh, you mean her." "No, that's the one she likes. She knows her size. We're good, thanks." And off we went. I visited Amelia at the Bethany Care Center one time, surprising her. She was in the beauty parlor. I snuck up and I said, "Amelia, it looks like you're getting all dolled up. What, do you have a big date tonight?" "Yeah," she said, "with you. We're going dancing." Another time at Christmas, I brought her this long strap of jingle bells, and I wheeled her up and down the halls of the Bethany. She was shaking those bells, jingle, jingle, and I'm yelling, "Ho, ho, ho, ho." Together, we're spreading Christmas cheer and joy to all. She just loved it. Apparently, the staff didn't, because the bells went missing over the next few days. In our time together, I told Amelia I loved her like my grandmother. I thanked her for her friendship, and she expressed her gratitude by giving me a beautiful thank you card with roses on it, signed by her own shaky hand. To me, it's priceless. She once said, "Travis, we all have problems in life. They're just different." She was very wise. She often talked about her family, friends, and loved ones, and how she wished she could spend more time with all of them, but couldn't. One day out of the blue, Linda asked Travis, "Have you talked to Amelia lately?" Nonchalantly, I said no, but I am due to visit. And upon visiting, I quickly learned that Emilia became suddenly ill and died. I was shocked and robbed of the chance to say goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to focus on those who need us, like Amelia did. We need to have a sense of humor and learn to go with the flow in life, like Amelia did. We need to be more loving and kind to each other and stay connected with those we love in this life, like Amelia did and tried to do. Because life really is too short not to. And we just never know when. Ours was a match made in heaven. We were like two little kids. We were kindred spirits. Emilia Bedelia, that was her nickname, and she will forever be my friend, Madam Toastmaster.
Eugene Seacat. Getting ahead. Getting ahead, Eugene Seacat.
One of my favorite quotes is from Mark Twain. He said, "The secret of getting ahead is getting started." Wow, that is simple and yet powerful. For us to get ahead, we just have to get that little step started. Yeah, you will tell me it's easier said than done. I know there's so many challenges that will just hold you back on getting that step. Procrastination is another force that will pull you back and other hurdles that will come your way. I have used three steps that I'm hoping that I can share with you and you see yourself if that will make useful for you. One is schedule. Second is talk it through. And third is follow through. First, schedule. When I talk about schedule, schedule is that thing that you put on your calendar, a reminder for you to do something. I find that that is the best thing for me to combat that procrastination. When I was starting as Toastmaster, it scared me to deliver speech. Just that thought itself, it put me back. By putting a schedule of when I will be writing a speech, it helped me to be on my toes. Another schedule on when I will practice my speech, and another schedule on when I will deliver my speech. Having that constant reminder, it helped me to get to my commitment and then get that next step or extra step to get started and get ahead. Second, think it through. I often find myself thinking an idea and keeping it to myself. I don't know about you. I find that sometimes I get that negative thought that if I talk it through or tell somebody, they will tell me, Eugene, you haven't done your homework enough. Or Eugene, you haven't really thought it through enough. Or they will say, that will never work. Having that negative thought, it just puts you on hold and doesn't really get you to get farther. I took the courage at one time when I had this challenging project that is about to fail. That idea that I've been keeping on my head, I never talked to my boss about it because of that negative thought that he will not agree on it. But I took the courage of telling him. To my surprise, he confirmed that that's exactly what I've been thinking about. Eugene, that's exactly what we need to salvage this project. Eugene, this is what we need to get this project to go through. Third, follow through. In my club, they know me as Mr. Follow Through because I'm the one who is always there to motivate people to get further. I'm the one who's always cheering them up and be that cheerleader that they can do it. I am a BP Ed of our club and I committed to help our club. And then the oil price went down. A lot of companies has to cut their budget. I lost my job. Through adversity, that is how you'll find your commitment, the true test on how you follow through on that. It took me time to figure out what to do next. I had to focus on finding a job. I had to support my family. I had to set aside what is not on that wavelength. I need to focus on getting that job. And then it took me some time to remember that I made that commitment to be our BP Ed of our club. I must have a good reason why I signed up for that role. I made my commitment and now I am backing down. After 2 weeks of talking it or thinking it through, I committed to my president that I will follow through on my commitment. I will finish my role as BP Ed. Through this adversity, I will stand to commit and follow through on my commitment. Those three things, it reminds me of one quote that I heard from Harrison Ford. Yes, Harrison Ford, that actor from Star Wars. He said, starting a quote, "May the force be with you" is charming, but it's not important. What is important is the force that you put on yourself and perhaps for other people. End of quote. Wow, again, that is another yet simple but powerful quote. To get ahead, you just have to get started. I truly believe that scheduling is the force that will help us to combat procrastination. Talking it through is the force for us to realize what is next. And following through is your great force to go through and combat adversity, to get even farther. Be that force to yourself to get ahead. Madam Toastmaster.
Alexander Jameson. Let's learn from Mr. Blobby. Let's learn from Mr. Blobby. Alexander Jameson.
For 30 years, my relationships were going down the toilet. Alas, I had some great advice from my good friend, Adrian. He told me, "Alexander, whenever you meet someone for the very first time, just imagine you're meeting Mr. Blobby the dog." I said to my friend, Adrian, "Does this mean I have to pat people on the head and say, 'Good doggy'?" He laughed and responded, "No, Alexander, you're just going to have to translate from doggy communication to human communication." Fellow Toastmasters, tonight I want to share how this translation has been working with my relationships. A great relationship always starts off with a great first impression. We're all familiar with the mechanics and the basics of a great first impression. Shoulders back, good eye contact, a good fist pump, or maybe an elbow pump nowadays. The intention of a great first impression is to make sure that we are genuinely interested in that person, even though we've never met them before. I have gone on dates with women and they have told me, Alexander, I just sense you're just not interested in me. Unfortunately, they have been right on most occasions. What can we learn from Mr. Blobby the dog? Well, let's meet Mr. Blobby. Hello, Mr. Blobby. How's it going today? Are you blobbing along? Are you singing a song? Woof, woof. No talking now, Mr. Blobby. It's easy to talk to Mr. Blobby the dog. Now, how does this translate when we meet someone for the very first time? Hello there, my name is Alexander. What is your name? Sally. Ah, I used to have a dog named Sally. It's a pleasure to meet you, Sally. Once we have formed a great relationship, undoubtedly, we're going to have some challenges along the way. Reacting to bad news, a death in the family, cancer, a job loss. What do we say in these situations? Sometimes we don't say anything. The intention in this scenario is to show some compassion, some love and understanding for that person. What can we learn from Mr. Blobby the dog? Poor Mr. Blobby has a sore paw. Oh, Mr. Blobby, what happened to you? You hurt your paw. Oh, let me kiss it better for you. Mwah, mwah. Again, very easy talking to Mr. Blobby. How does this translate into human interactions? Oh my goodness, your great aunt is dying of cancer? I can't imagine how your great aunt is feeling. But most importantly, how are you feeling? How are you coping? How can I help you in your time of need? As well as reacting to bad news, thankfully, we get to react to great news. Someone has achieved their Distinguished Toastmaster Award. The old Alexander would say something along the lines of, congratulations. However, I achieved my DTM 2 years ago, and I received my award wearing my kilt. We want to be excited about their excitement and focus just on them. What can we learn from Mr. Blobby the dog? Mr. Blobby has caught that frisbee yet again for the 1 millionth time. Amazing! You caught that frisbee in midair. Wow! We're gonna have to enter you into the agility contest. Here's a big juicy bone for being such a clever doggy. How does this translate? Congratulations, Distinguished Toastmaster. I have heard that that is a lot of hard work. You must be so proud of yourself. Well done, sir, madam. Fellow Toastmasters, we can learn so much from being around dogs, especially Mr. Blobby. Mr. Blobby was actually my family's dog on the farm in Scotland. Sadly, Mr. Blobby is no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago, and for the first time, I witnessed my dad crying. Mr. Blobby left a legacy with the family. He inspired me to write a children's book, and also, without him, who knows, I may have not received that great advice from my friend Adrian. Now, whenever I meet new people, I meet them with enthusiasm. Whenever I react to bad or good news, I focus just on that person. And I show some love, some understanding, some compassion, and empathy. If you are having a challenge with your relationships, I strongly encourage you to do some translation from doggy communication to human communication, or maybe cat communication to human communication. That is a speech for another day. Please, please remember to translate. Never, never pat people on the head, give them treats unless it's chocolate or alcohol, and never kiss their feet unless they have a strange foot fetish. Madam Toastmaster.
Nice.
Well, I was
Thank
thinking,
you.
not only are they funny, they're all good looking.
Thank you for recognizing that.
Marcy, I have your pictures.
Anytime. Okay, so I'll bring my video back up and then we'll move on to the international speech contest. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, so the international speech contest will be held for the district on Saturday, May 30th. Let's have a drum roll. For our third place winner, Travis Tebow. Hi, Travis.
Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You did a wonderful speech. We'll have a virtual award, and I look forward to giving you a physical award.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful international speech.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And then hold on, we'll get a picture shortly. Okay. And then for our second place international winner, congratulations go out to David Dick. And we'll just wait a moment for the video to come up. Congratulations, Dave.
Thank you.
And we have a virtual award, but sooner or later we will be getting to you with the physical award. Thank you so much for your speech and congratulations on being the second place winner.
Thank you.
And then hold on in a moment and we'll get a picture. And what we have been waiting for the international speech contest is our first place winner. We'll have for Canuck Kare.